Kind of. Me and Mr. Moeller, me and Mr. Moeller are going to be half people, and we make a whole person.
Yeah.
With the theme of this
Yeah, you have to
video,
wait.
I'm just gonna.
All right, hey guys, Miss Nana got us together again for another teammate discussion with 4 of us, because me and him are only half, so we make one person. We were just discussing that, actually. And it's really an interesting topic, which is why I titled this video Sticks and Stones and Stuff. Main point is sticks and stones and stuff. So what Miss Nana, the question Miss Nana was talking about, or what it had to do with, is the old saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, right? But words, they can be hurtful. And it's just something we were talking about a little bit earlier. As I was thinking about it, I think the first thing that popped into my mind is we don't have to let another person's words hurt us, but I think it really depends on how much we care about that other person or the other person's opinion. And this is why if someone trusts you or relies on you or you're close with them, right, their opinion is going to mean a lot more to you. And so if they're a little loose or mean about what they say, then yeah, that can catch you off guard, and it can be really, really, hurtful, I think. But sometimes with strangers too, right? I mean, I think it can depend on what they're talking about. Maybe it's something you're already self-conscious about or whatever.
I think it's harder to let go of things that people say flippantly if you are close to them, rather than if they're a stranger. If it's a stranger, you might just be like, oh, well, that was super rude, and you might tell your friend about it. But it's easier to let go because you aren't emotionally attached to that individual. Mm-hmm. Okay? And you can just be like, oh, well, I don't know them. Maybe they were just having a bad day, and move on. But you can't think that same thing with someone that you're really close to. Like your sister, you can't just be like, oh, well, she just must be having a bad day, I'm going to let that go. No, it kind of digs a little deeper. Like,
yeah, I got to be honest. For me, like, I have a tendency to fixate on negative feedback, no matter where it comes from. And I've always had that tendency, and I like to think that it's helpful, and it has been. I mean, it's been able to help me get in front of a lot of problems before they became problems, in building a business and doing what we do. But at the same time, for mental health and all that, it can be really bad. I mean, I can tell you how many nights I've been kept up by just a flippant comment by somebody, trying to ask myself, well, does what they were saying have merit? Is there something that I can do about it? And yes, hi, Mr. Luis, good to see you as well. I'm supposing that was supposed to say hi.
Yes.
Hadn't seen you in a while. You got to come back, Mr. Muller's missing you.
I know. I'm sad.
He's sad. You made Mr. Mueller sad.
And he said it in his happy voice, too.
All right, Miss Nana, so give us your piece. Give us your wisdom here.
Well, words are really, there's a fine line between words, how you take them and how they're meant. And I think as a parent, and even a friend or a sibling, you have to really watch your words. I mean, growing up, I can remember being told, well, that was a stupid thing to do. And that really hurts, because maybe what was done was in all good intentions, and especially when you're a child, you don't necessarily think things all the way through.
We're born naive and inexperienced.
Exactly.
Like you were trying to be
Of course we're
precious
going to
for
do
somebody.
things that aren't the smartest things in the world. That's how we learn.
Yeah,
Exactly.
like Axel made us eggs and bacon this morning, and if he would have not used the right spatula or something, like when you were growing up, they sort of thought that was a
I
stupid thing
couldn't
to
care
do.
less. I would have just kind of laughed at him if he tried to flip it with a spoon. I'm like, hey, well, if you can figure it out.
Well,
you know,
yeah,
like-
but, like, kids don't always know the difference, and so, that would have been very hurtful, and you might never would have tried that again.
Exactly. And then,
I didn't say that though. He did an amazing job.
No, that's a good point though. Like, I remember I remember trying several things as a kid that I would get severely negative feedback from, be it from a friend, a coach, maybe just a school bully or whatever, and it would be something that I would actively avoid from that point forward, even if it was something that I enjoyed. And I know that we have a lot of students that deal with that, right? So, like, I know a lot of, like, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old students, or actually, I think it's even worse at the 14 to 17 age range, that enjoy doing this. They enjoy the karate, they enjoy the sport fighting and stuff like that. And then at the same time, other people that they're around in school and stuff, they don't really understand what we do, and they don't think much of it, or just always want to tease people for being different. That's kind of a common teenage thing, right, Mr. Mueller?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's it.
Man of many words.
So, and I think that it can really play on it. I know I've talked to several students who have faced situations like that, and it really comes down to, I think asking yourself what you really enjoy, right?
There's a mosquito.
And whether you want to let somebody that you likely don't even get along with, in many of the cases that I talk to people about, control your decisions, or do you want to be in control of your decisions? Because like if you're talking about being in junior high, high school, like 3-4 years, that's it, and that may feel like forever at the time, but it's really not. It's really not at all. And then suddenly you're not around all those people anymore, and everything kind of changes. Of course, it's hard to feel that until you're there, though.
Well, and it just shows how important it is for all of us to think about what's going to come out of our mouths before it comes out. Because if I really care about you, and maybe I have something that's very important to say, but I need to be able to monitor and filter my words so that if my intention's not to hurt you, I don't want those words to hurt you.
And see, that's just something we talk about leadership. We talk about communication skills, where the person who is communicating a message has a certain amount of responsibility to do the best that they can to make sure that their intention is put in a way that the other person is more receiving or will understand. Now, I'm not saying it's their sole responsibility. Obviously, the listener has responsibility in that as well. But a communicator, a good communicator, a leadership position in particular, has some amount of responsibility to make sure that they're trying to tailor their message to the audience, to make sure that the audience is, whether it's of one or of many, is going to take the message the right way.
Well, and that really just leads into what I wanted to say in our leadership stuff, is that we, as leaders, we constantly strive to tell people what we want to see.
Right,
Not
instead of what we don't want to see. That was something we
see.
talked about in the last video.
So, for example, with Axel, I'm like, hey, I would rather, which he used all the proper stuff. He was fine and he was safe and I was watching him. But, if I found out he had started to do this in a way that was unsafe, I wouldn't say that was a stupid thing to do. That's, you could have gotten hurt. I would say, hey, let's try it this way so that you're a little safer. That way he doesn't feel discouraged, he doesn't feel put down, and he knows that I want him to be safe above all things.
That's the idea, but mistakes happen too. Sometimes impulsivity jumps over emotional states and stuff like that. And I think it does wonders. And I've met many parents who struggled with this, or it was just a really foreign concept to them when I first brought it up to them. And it kind of was to me too, but I know that a couple times I've been impulsive in the words that I've said to Axel and how I've went about it. And I feel like, you can't fix it. You can't take it back, but I feel like it does wonders to at least acknowledge it later and apologize and admit, hey, I was in the wrong. Just because I'm an adult or your parent or whatever doesn't mean I don't get a little impulsive sometimes. I don't get a little edgy and say things in ways that were uncalled for, And I think that does happen, but I think it does wonders, especially talking about an adult-child relationship, that it does wonders to be willing to admit when you were wrong. Speaking of, Axel was over there listening to us. Axel, do you have anything you wanted to add to this conversation? I heard a curtain. No. No?
No.
No. Okay.
But it really does, and as far as child development, it does a world of good to, we all want to raise well-adjusted adults, right? We want to raise
Most of us, I believe. Yeah.
human beings that turn
I
into,
have to believe most of
yes,
us do.
We want to raise human beings that are well-adjusted, independent, and can go through life without needing to live in our basement, right? Like, that's kind of what we all want. And it doesn't do any good.
Or even if they have to live in our basement.
But then that's a mutual choice, so that's fine.
It's
but,
a hard world to get started in out there. I mean, I ended up being homeless and stuff.
Yes, but that's not my point.
All right.
Not because they can't cope with the world, but because that's a mutually financially beneficial decision. That's different. But I'm just saying they can cope with the world and deal with things. It does a world of good raising someone who can deal with the world by actually admitting that when we as adults do things wrong, when we make mistakes. I heard a lot growing up, do as I say, I know as I do, and never getting apologized to, and all sorts of things just because people were adults that made mistakes. And when you're an adult, you make mistakes. And at work, you have to own up to your mistakes or you don't have that job. We should still show that our kids that we make mistakes, and we have to own responsibility if we want our kids to do the same thing. And we can't do that if we don't admit when we use our words in less than supportive manners.
Yeah, no, that's really true. I know that, and I know that it's also helpful, talk about raising well-adjusted kids. One of the things we talk about during Confidence Week is not worrying too much about other people's opinions, as long as you enjoy something and stuff like that. And I feel like it's really important, especially for kids, to give them that message, because I know in some of the ways that I was raised, still to this day, I have a difficult time feeling like my enjoyment or something I care about or my opinion matters in any way, shape, or form to anybody. Like I have this automatic feeling that it really doesn't matter. Anything I say doesn't really matter, that everybody else's opinion is more important than mine. But because of that, I tend to take other people's words really harshly as well, even if they're just lashing out, or if it's a misunderstanding or whatever the case may be. I know I tend to take it extremely harshly, but I was kind of raised in a way of everyone else around me is smarter than me. Everyone else around me knows more, right? Or that was kind of ingrained in me. That didn't really, then things turned out weird. I had a rebellious phase at like 14, and things went nuts from there, right? And now you have me. Too bad. Yeah, I don't see many comments. Thank you, Miss Reeds, for commenting. If you guys have anything to add to the conversation, please go ahead and drop us a comment or anything. We've heard 2 words out of that man right there. I want to see what he's got to say.
I mean, the only thing that kind of pops into my mind is, because I'm the same way, where if I don't really know the person that much, and I don't really have a relationship, I guess you can say, I mean, they can,
Go for
that
it,
person,
right?
like, well, they can call
That
me.
was a nice way
they
to
can-
say it.
Yeah.
I was say no cursing on here.
Yeah, they can
Go fly a kite. Is
Okay. Oh, I thought I heard something
go
else.
fly a kite. They can go fly a kite.
yeah, they can say anything to me, and I'll be like, all right, that's cool. They can have their own opinion, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Teach the littles, man.
If it comes to somebody who like a close friend or close family member, then it's going to have a little bit more of an impact. The only thing else that pops in is not verbal, but text
Oh.
is
Because
one.
you don't know context.
Yeah,
You don't know
that's-
how they're saying it.
That's why I don't usually like to
Tone of
text,
voice.
because I can come up with different ways that the text can be perceived, and so
Yeah.
because it doesn't have the tone to it. It's just the message, and so some people, depending on what mood they're in, can interpret it one way, and you meant it another way.
It's
No, you're
also
right.
not-
Actually, I have that problem. I have that problem of reading a text and seeing 3 or 4 different ways it could be meant, and then starting to freak out and panic, like, oh, which one is it, right? One is good, 3 are bad. I don't know. That's not good odds here. And I tend to overanalyze that stuff. At the same time, I tend to be a bit of a texter, because I can put more thought into each thing I say and feel like I'm not on the spot to reply and have to keep the conversation going at the same time. And of course, now you're subjugated to this, because I text you from time to time whenever I have a question or anything. I'll just send you a message. But I don't want to bother you. Like, I don't know what
No.
you do during the day. I don't want to know.
Happy now the semester's over.
Yeah.
But but I'm usually like working up here, but I don't have a clue what you're up to. So
Loafing in his parents' house.
Yeah. That's-
Living in
I just-
he lives in the attic.
I know,
yeah, he's an addict gnome.
It's different. It's different.
Totally
No,
different.
I'm not sure that's better.
It's more of a loft. I'll defend him. It's more of a loft.
It's my perch. I just watch out the window.
He just sits there all perched like a crazy pterodactyl.
Yeah.
You'll know it's his house. Yeah, I'm gonna go for a job by. You see some creepy guy up in the window just staring at you. Just keep running. Just keep running. Good motivation to run faster.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
All right. Anyone else have any other thoughts or anything to add?
She hasn't said anything either.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't gonna call her out.
Oh, Dale says hi, guys.
Hi, Dale. Get back to work.
Yeah, I don't know you, so I don't want to be all mean and say get back to work. But
He works such odd hours, and he's
Oh.
always working. So I just told him to get back to
Yeah.
work.
all right.
I'm co-foster parenting with them.
Ah,
Yeah.
I couldn't read the name from here. I had to lean forward just to read the message. So
She's one
did
of
you-
the few people that's seen our Hulu ad.
one of the few people. Oh yeah, if you've seen our Hulu ad, let us know if I'm wasting my money on this or not. Because like I don't know, I haven't seen it ever since I started running that ad. I've been forcing myself to watch Hulu videos or Hulu shows to see if I can see it in the evenings. I'm not even watching the shows. I just come back and check on it when the commercials come on, and I've yet to have seen our commercial pop up. So
Never.
yeah. So did you have anything you wanted to add, Miss Dasha?
I mean, words are important, especially with tiny humans, you know, like, and apologizing or keeping your word or being very careful about what you tell them is especially important. Don't say, oh, we'll go to the park later, because
They remember everything.
they're going to remember that. And when something happens and you don't go to the park later, well, you lied to them and you broke their trust. And that's a big deal, because now they can't trust you.
And they repeat what they get experienced too.
Yeah.
You know.
And it's a little thing. I mean, they might only be 3-4 years old, but they're going to remember that. And it's a simple phrasing of, we will try to go to the park later if we get everything done. If not, we will try to go later this week or something, but not, we'll go later. Because they're going to remember that.
Yeah, it's part of integrity. You know, you don't want to promise something you're not sure you can keep. You can always promise to try, and that's that's a little different. So if something comes up, it's not as hurtful.
Well, and speaking of modeling behavior and integrity, I was talking to the classes for the last few days about how to apologize appropriately. Not just saying I'm sorry and giving someone a hug, or just saying I'm sorry and being done with it, but apologizing and putting forth an action or a plan that backs up your apology.
That makes it better. That's
Yeah.
a path to move forward to
Yeah.
not have that happen again. That's not what we've been focused on. On the back foot, we've been focused on trust and how integrity helps build trust, because trust is one of those things that once it's been lost, you may not be able to get it back. It really depends on the person, the relationship, level of forgiveness. By the way, she just bet him that she could get one of us to say his name.
Yeah.
And they see our ad all the time. Wow.
I know. Probably
You might be the only ones out there seeing it.
Yeah, to the point that she texted me that Aiden was going, why are they on your Hulu again?
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Oh,
Well,
man.
we were talking about that in terms of trust as well, because if someone doesn't believe your apology, like if you say something very flippant and you weren't thinking about how it was going to come across, and you just you're like, well, I'm sorry. That's not meaningful. That doesn't build their trust. That doesn't keep their trust. And so, as adults,
Honestly, it comes across as sarcastic no matter what tone you use. Just saying I'm sorry alone.
So, yeah, and like people don't trust people saying I'm sorry anymore. So that's why you have to have an actionable plan. Adults, we're no different. When we have to apologize to our kids or any young people or anybody else, we need to be modeling what we want to see to build trust. So I can't just say to Axel, "Oh, I'm sorry," and just walk away. That doesn't mean anything to him. He wants to know why I'm sorry, and he wants to know how I'm going to make it up to him.
Yeah, so like on modeling, speaking on modeling, I mean, as parents, as we pointed out, it can't always be perfect. As adults, it can't always be perfect. So it's not about modeling the perfect behavior you want for your children. It's about modeling how to be you and make mistakes, but still correct them.
Yep.
And still, be self-aware enough to realize that you made a mistake and come back and try to correct it in the best way possible, thoughtfully. And that kind of plays into a video I showed Nana last week. It's going to post this next week up here on Facebook. I honestly almost didn't post it, Nana. I almost didn't, because I got to watching it and I thought this video came out way too serious. And I did post it on TikTok, and Tasha put sad eyes on it, and it made me almost cry. And I was like, maybe this is way too serious or sad.
It's serious.
It's Tasha.
but
She
it
cries about
makes
everything.
Yeah.
You can't not put it on there. It's a good video.
But it was a fun video to make. But it did come across very, very emotional and serious. Where Miss Rose here and Mr. Axel were both in the video, and the idea was Miss Rose was bullying Mr. Axel verbally, and Axel, after she's berating him, he puts his hand on her shoulder and says, "Before I answer all that, I just want to know, has someone made you feel that way recently?" And then she breaks down crying. He gives her a hug and it says, a little compassion goes a long way. And that comes into that, modeling behavior. Because what's crazy is I have actually seen Axel. I mean, he doesn't go to a traditional type of school, I guess. So I don't get to see this stuff very often. But I have seen him many times in the past stand up for a kid at the playground getting picked on when he didn't even know anybody, right? And I knew he was scared and nervous about doing stuff like that. And I've seen him over and over go to kids who are upset, who might be hurt, have twisted their ankle, who are crying, who just had someone be mean to them, and try to talk to them and be friendly and kind of make friends. And even if he doesn't necessarily like that kid or that person as someone to hang out with, he's still like ultra friendly and tries to bring them back around. He doesn't like seeing anybody sad. And I couldn't help when I've seen that a few times to chalk that up to how many times he has seen that here, has seen how we react and respond to kids on the mat. And then, he just models that behavior with peers and other kids and on top, and things like that. And I've really enjoyed watching him play soccer recently because he's constantly, yes, sir, and helping other players figure out where to be and cheering his teammates on when say he's on defense and the ball's over into the field and stuff like that. It's been really cool to see the kind of effect that this program or being around this program his whole life has had on him. Oh, Brandy's late. She says she'll have to research. Research what?
Just go back and means go back and watch the video.
Okay. You have to remember that the words "I'm sorry" by themselves have no real context. Yes, and that was kind of what he was talking about with text, and then she brought up the same thing in just saying "I'm sorry." Yeah, it doesn't have any meaning unless you actually talk about why you're sorry, how you feel about it, why you didn't mean it, what your intentions were, and how you're going to try to do better in the future. In what way? A specific plan to do better in the future. Those are kind of my ways to talk about apologizing to people. In many cultures, those words don't even translate. Yeah, so if you don't give it context or meaning, it will definitely come across as false. That's it, right? And I've heard that. I'm not good with other languages, but I've heard that the words don't translate well into many other languages. And I can understand that because, wouldn't it be better to express sorrow about how an event happened specifically rather than just some grand, big term that's just meant to Band-Aid and make everything better, Yeah. I would rather... I tend to prefer, I catch myself messing this up a lot, but I prefer to say I feel bad rather than I'm sorry. I say I feel bad that I feel bad that this, rather than saying I'm sorry that it whatever, right?
Well, sorry tends to be a blanket term where we're always accepting guilt.
A little louder. Say that louder. Louder for those in the back.
Sorry has become a blanket term where we accept guilt, even in things that are not our fault.
But most of the time, we're not really accepting the guilt. We're just saying that we're done with the conversation. We're just done, not having it, And I feel like that's the way it is with a lot of cases. I don't say that everybody who says it that way intends it that way. It's just how it comes across to many people these days.
Well, it's something you're taught when you're little.
Yeah.
Because you tell the 2 and 3-year-olds, oh, you hit him, tell him you're sorry. Okay, everything's great now, move along. If you don't ever teach them that there needs to be more than I'm sorry, then they just think, I say I'm sorry, and the world's happy again, and we move on, and everything's great and grand. But it doesn't make it better.
No, because then they grow up and they're people that call places that they need to talk to customer service, and they yell at them, and then at the end of it they go, oh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have yelled at you. And then it should be okay when that person on the other end of the phone's just doing their job and just trying to answer their questions and just got berated and torn down
For no reason.
for no reason.
Other than you're mad.
Yeah.
No, I admit, I've raised. When I've had trouble with customer service before, I've raised my voice a couple of times. But I stay on topic. I'm not going to pick on somebody personally. I'm just going to stay on topic and be like, look, this problem that I have, this specific thing I need answers for, stop dodging me. I'm trying to find this out. And, because I've ran into that before too, especially dealing with companies like, insurance companies are one of the worst about that. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. We all, sometimes you do have to get a little more. Well, I don't want to say raise your voice, but I want to say maybe just get a little bit more intense and to the point and direct, depending on the situation. If someone's dodging, or going around, which I know I've had customer service calls like that with several companies. And I got to be honest, once I have a customer service call like that with a company, I'm done with that company. I'm just not working with them anymore. I will find an alternative, and there are alternatives to most of them.
Yep.
Oh, there's more comments popping in now. My bad. I was leaned back. I wasn't seeing. Rewatch, not research. Yeah, we're mostly talking about how words can hurt, right? The old sticks and stones saying. We have a sorry action plan in our house explaining why you're sorry and what you'll be doing to rectify it. Exactly. That's exactly what we were talking about with the individual, whatever it is that occurred, be sorry for and following through. For some people, the words come out as an automatic reply because they've been conditioned to respond that way. Yeah, I'm really bad about that. How many times have I said sorry to you, babe, Brittany?
Once by text message for sure, if not twice.
Twice by text, I know that.
Yeah, and probably a couple times in person.
Sorry. But yeah.
But my favorite response to that is, especially to the kids, I know you're sorry, now apologize.
Yeah.
And they get really confused because they have no idea what that means.
But for me, I say it as a condition of, like, I'll use that term usually a lot more, and I'll say it pretty often in regards to, I'm not sure if I've done anything wrong, but I want to let you know that if I did, if you're mad at me, I didn't mean to. Like, I know I haven't been at my best. I know I haven't been feeling well or whatever. I'm really sorry if that's bothering you. I don't know if it's bothering you. And that's where I do tend to use sorry a lot. I don't like being in people's way. I don't like bothering people. Why is everybody suddenly
We're stiff.
doing the, everybody starts sitting up real straight. I was like, I won't get attacked. I don't know what's happening.
My knee was
I like to use the word I apologize.
Apologize, yeah.
And then go into it. I apologize if I hurt your feelings by saying this. That was not my intention, or whatever. I feel like actually verbalizing those words hold more weight and let me try to not make an excuse for my action, but admit what I did, and so they know that I know that.
Take responsibility.
Yes.
A mindful and thoughtful response. I know that's big for me. Like, if someone's going to apologize to me, a mindful and thoughtful response. If it's in text, a paragraph. If it's in person, a couple of minutes of a conversation goes a long way. We showed our kids how much weight sorry really holds by itself with the toothpaste example. I've always loved the toothpaste example. That's always a pretty cool one. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube just by saying I'm sorry to it. You can try. Plus, it's just fun to do it because you get to destroy a toothpaste container and just like ooze it
Giant
everywhere.
mess.
Yeah, giant mess. Giant messes are fun, except for the person that's got to clean them up. That's why we do that outside. That's why we do that outside.
Or on a paper towel, sir.
But then you can't make that much of a mess. Outside, you can like sling it at each other.
You?
Yeah, it is pretty gross.
Yeah.
You. I don't like
Sounded
your-
fun though.
I don't like your version of this.
You don't have to. That's okay. No, we're not calling anyone out.
You.
How can I make it up to you to make things right? That's it. Oh, Mr. Fisher, good to see you on here. Oh, I haven't spoken to you guys in so long. I hope everything is well for you guys. Yeah, how can I make it up to you to make things right? If you don't know, ask. If you don't know, ask. Now, at the same time, sometimes they're not going to know either. Sometimes they're angry, and they're not going to know, and they're not going to want to know or whatever. Make sure you put your own thought into it a little bit, or make sure that they're calm before you ask. Because I gotta be honest. If you wrong somebody and you feel like you wrong somebody, I feel like it's then your responsibility to figure out what to do to make it right. But of course, if it's somebody you don't know that well, you might not be able to. And so asking the questions, no harm in asking.
Right.
There's no harm in asking. I usually like to try to attempt something thoughtful and mindful as an apology first, and then I might ask, and then if they do give me an answer of what would make it right, then I double down on that, right? So I've done that at the school before, right? Someone had, maybe another student said something, and actually this hasn't happened in years, and I mean years, but when we first started out, I remember this happening once. We had one student that said something kind of mean to another student, and the other student and their parents were pretty upset about it, and I apologized profusely, told them that, I would be speaking with the other student, and, asked them, what would make it right. And they basically said, well, just if we talked more about, this was before we even had the words of the week, if we talked more about courtesy and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, yeah, that, not only am I going to do that, I will definitely do that, but how about you have next month on me as well, and take next month free. I will double down on what I do. If I'm truly apologetic and want to make it up to somebody, I will double down on whatever it is that they think is going to make it right. I'll give twice that, whatever, if I feel like it's fair, especially if I feel like they're legitimately a legitimate concern. They have a legitimate issue that happened, and I feel bad about it, right? Good to see you on here, Mr. Fisher. Sorry is just a word. Actions make people know you mean it. I think that's a great way to put it.
Yep.
All right. So have we all said our pieces?
Yeah, I think so.
Did they make a picture puzzle?
No, mine didn't.
Yours didn't make a puzzle?
I'm my own. My.
You have your
my
own
puzzle,
picture.
yeah.
This is his own puzzle where none of the pieces fit.
Well, you and him make a puzzle piece. Like,
That's true.
remember?
Sort of. Yeah.
Here, yeah.
It's got jagged edges on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. That's okay. So what picture did you get out of this, Miss Nana?
Well, I think that while words can hurt, you have to be able to look at it not with so much emotions involved. You have to be able to weigh how you feel about the person and what they said and whether it changes anything about you.
Right. You got to try to respond without the emotion, and if you can't, take the time until you can. Absolutely. The extra heat. If you try to apologize when you're still heated, that never turns out well, because you're going to end up not having the right. You're not going to come across the way you mean. You're not going to end up having the right feel behind it. Absolutely. So I was just repeating a little bit because it was a little bit quiet. Are you losing your voice?
Oh, probably after being on the phone for 8 hours and hollering at Mr. Mueller to make his class.
Was she yelling at
talk up.
you?
He yells at me all the time.
That's great. She yells at me too. It's all good.
She doesn't yell at me. Same.
She used to. She will again. Get her back on the front floor. Yell at both of you.
I just assume that's how she shows her care,
It is.
Yes.
by yelling at people.
If I didn't
I mean,
care.
possibly, but I learned to do what Nana expects me to do, so I don't get yelled at.
And that's
And that's why
you're not the favorite.
No, that's why I am the favorite child. I am her favorite child.
Oh, come on. It's the one that acts up a little bit. It's usually the favorite. No?
No.
All right.
No, that's not the way that works, sir.
That's the way it's going to work for me. It is. All right. So this has been another discussion. This was our second one now, huh? In 2 weeks? We did it 2 weeks ago, didn't we?
A month ago.
It's been longer than 2 weeks.
It's been more than 2 weeks.
Because it was
Mr. Mueller, back me up. It was just 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
Sure, it was 2 weeks ago.
Sarah, it was before a black belt tested. I'm just saying.
Yeah, like 2 weeks ago.
It's his count of 2 weeks.
Okay.
15
Yeah.
push-ups, right?
Yeah.
But it's so rare that we get all the instructors together to be able to have a discussion about something, and I'm glad we were able to bring everybody together tonight. Thank you guys for joining us, and I guess we will go ahead. Sherry says she's the favorite. What you got to say to that?
This is the bone of contention. She knows she's not right. She just tries to say she is.
Oh, no. Never mind. She answered for you. Okay, before one of us dies, we're going to go ahead and jump off here. Thank you for listening to us chat about integrity, and sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can hurt sometimes. And until we see you guys again, be the best teammates you can be, and be the best at being you. No, what? Yeah.